Hello and welcome to my show, How to Market and Sell Life Coaching. I'm Ashley Jangro, your host, and today we are hearing from Master Coach LaKendra Smalley. She is an incredibly successful coach. She certifies life coaches, and she's also a good friend. LaKendra, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Ashley. You look so beautiful today.
So do you. And I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm so excited to share your story with everyone and then kind of reverse engineer how you have built your coaching empire, because I think you have so much wisdom to share, both for coaches who are just starting out
Mhm.
and for coaches who are already successful and are kind of ready to take their business to that next level. So I'm so excited to hear from you. And for anyone who is here listening during that live premiere on YouTube, let us know real quick where you're listening from and what kind of coaching you do. Throughout this whole episode, feel free to type any comments or questions because both LaKendra and I are in the chat to connect and answer any questions you have. So, again, thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to hear your story. So, to start out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to describe kind of what your business is like today, just in a couple sentences. And then we're going to back up to the very beginning and outline how you got to where you are. But first, I want people to understand the big picture of what you've built. So can you kind of describe where you're at now?
So right now, I'm a multi-million dollar company, life coaching company, where not only do we certify and train life coaches, but we hire life coaches because we're the only life coaching school in the US that is credentialed through health insurance. So here in the state of Texas, we are credentialed through Texas Medicaid, where we're able to go in and serve underserved and underprivileged communities, in the field of mental and behavioral health. So we do that, and we are really, really big in the school districts. So I have created this masterpiece where coaches, especially if they're here locally, they can come in, they can invest in a certification, teaching them the skills that they need to be successful, and then they can get a return on their investments by being contractors with the institute. So it's so super amazing.
I love this. I feel like it meets so many different needs because you're also serving an underserved community that might not have the money to pay for coaching, but you've
Yes.
really hacked that system. I mean, I say hacked. What you actually did was spend, 6 years doing a lot of hard work to make it work, where you can work with insurance companies and Medicaid. So I think it's so incredible. And I think that people might have a lot of questions about how that happened. So I love thinking, and we'll talk about it a lot at the end, but you also have something new that's coming out that's going to serve an additional audience. Do you want to share that now or do you want to wait until the end?
I can share it now.
Okay.
So I am a retired educator. So I was a behaviorist for 16 years in education underneath, special ed. And so that's where my heart is. My heart is in the education arena. So now we have the life coach educators, which we have been piloting for, the last 6 years of what does that look like? What does that look like in a school district? What does that look like monetarily wise for a school teacher? And so what we've been able to do is beta this inside of a school in Arlington, Texas. We probably have about 6 or 7 certified teachers that are in that school. They teach different subject areas, but we call them life coach educators. And then what we've been able to do is go in and create a partnership with the school to identify their top tier 3 kids. And this is really specifically in Title I schools, right?
Mhm.
So because Title I schools have a lot of funding that go unused. So because I came out of education, I knew that this funding existed, and a lot of schools just don't use it. So I've been able to kind of come in and nurture that situation with the administrators,
Mhm.
where we have life coach teachers that are in the school that can work with those top tier 3 kids, and those kids are facing dropout, failure, just all types of things, right? And so we've created just a beautiful family or a community inside a school where life coaching exists. And it's a game changer. It's a game changer for the whole industry because if I can do it anybody can do it, right? So
Mhm.
it's just having a desire to do it. So so Life Coach Educators is coming soon. September 1st, we'll start the promotions for that. We're going to be really gearing up here in the state of Texas because that's where I can really benefit the most. But of course, we have coaches globally where we're using the same model, like even in the Philippines where we're housed, we will have another location to see what that looks like. So I was just there in May. We went and visited one of their top science schools, which is not a it's not like a Title I school, but it's a school in need because the kids are struggling with high levels of stress and they're
Yes.
trying to figure out like how can we have life coach teachers here
Mhm.
because we've also done a pilot there in their school using life coaches. So this is going to be so great for our industry.
It's so amazing because it allows teachers to have this other thing that helps them make more money, but it's
Yes,
using district money to pay them so that they're
yes,
not relying on the money of their one-on-one clients. They're not relying on, having wealthy families or wealthy kids around. It's also allowing them to support the mental health of their students in their classroom. It's like a win-win-win all over the place.
yeah, it is. And thank you for reminding me of that. So, there is additional funding that, life coach teachers or even life coaches can even, go after in school districts. And so our teachers are leaving, good teachers are leaving. And this is a way that I figured out how do we keep good teachers in the classroom because they don't want to go work at Walmart.
Mhm.
They don't want to work at, department stores. They really just want to serve in their community. So now they get additional funding that filters through the institute that we're able to pay them. And then those kids that have the insurance and that it's a medical necessity. So let me make sure that's clear. It has to be a medical necessity, right?
Right.
Which we figure out, how we do that. And so now the teacher creates two additional streams of income, right? And
Mhm.
it's amazing. It's just amazing just seeing like a lot of my coaches that are educators, they're happy, they're
Mm.
able to spend more time with their family now because everything they can really do like within a school day and earn that additional income.
This is so amazing. I think that one of the reasons we really connected so easily is because I also used to be a teacher. And I think about if this had been a possibility back when I was a teacher, one of my huge passions was serving in Title I schools. I wanted to be there. I desperately wanted to help with the mental health aspect of my students, which is why I went back to become a counselor and I needed to make more money. So it's like it serves all of those desires and passions and needs, but then it's also actually helping the kids and the school. So I think it's amazing. So this is like big
Definitely.
picture. I really wanted people to see what you've accomplished because it's so incredible. So let's back way up. How long ago did you become a life coach?
So I started calling myself a life coach in 2008.
Okay,
And then I
so
finally, yeah.
is that 15 years? Okay, so let's back up 15 years and let's just go through like why, what happened? So give me just a kind of a summary of what made you want to be a life coach and then how did you get started?
So I didn't know what life coaching was in 2008, right? But my mentor, that I so adore, which is Mr. Maxwell, John Maxwell. He, I saw him on television. He called himself a coach,
Mhm.
and when I went and did read about the background on him, I was like, this is what I do, right? I serve in the community, I train, I educate, and this is so cool. And it's a different perspective of me being, a psychologist because my
Mhm.
background is in psychology and sociology. So when I started researching life coaching, I couldn't find a lot of information about it around 2008, but it was enough to intrigue me of I need to go back to school, right? In my mind, I'm like, I need to go back to school. So I started researching schools that had life coaching, and no one, they're like, this is not
There was no one.
this is not a field of study, right?
Right.
Like, and I was like, but no, I've researched several other people. This exists, and these people are multimillionaires and are calling themselves a life coach. So I know that I can do this. No, the schools, even my school, and I was so close to my counselor at the time. She was like, "LaKendra, this is not a regulated industry. Don't get into it." right?
Yep.
You have a beautiful background already. Just push
Mhm.
forward, go get your PhD, right?
Mhm.
So I did. Like I did a full circle. I enrolled in my PhD for psychology. And within a year or two, I was like extremely depressed. I didn't know it, but I was so drained because I didn't want to go back to school. I just
Uh-huh.
wanted that additional resource or tool that I could use to do the same thing John Maxwell was doing, right? And
Oh,
so,
this is so good. This is really fascinating because this is kind of as similar to my path. I went back to get my master's in counseling so that
mhm,
I could serve in that way. And I thought this is not. I learned a lot of theory and I learned a lot of history and all of that. But I'm like, this isn't the tools that I need
this
to
is
like
not the
make
tools.
make it work in real life. So I love that
Yeah.
you share that. Okay, so then what did you
Yeah.
do instead?
So I 2 years later, 2 or 3 years later, maybe it was, I think it was 2010,
Mhm.
I wake up in a panic attack
Mm.
and John Maxwell is on television again,
Okay.
right? So I wake up in a panic attack. He's on stage, just this one chair, he's on stage, and it's almost like he coached me out of the panic attack because he was
From
talking
TV.
about, yeah, he was talking about human development and taking control of your life and blah blah blah. So when I went back to sleep and woke up the next day, I told my husband I'm dropping out of my PhD program.
Oof.
I found a life coaching school that I could get certified.
Uh-huh.
And it was in Orange County, California. And so anyway, me and my best friend and my sister-in-law, we get certified as life coaches, and it just completely changed my life. And all I wanted to do at that time was just say, out of all of the education I had, right? I just
Mhm.
wanted to call myself a life coach. And that's just truly how it started. And so sitting in that classroom, and it was a classroom of probably about 47 to 52 people who were, aspiring to be life coaches. There were only two African American women, which was me and my best friend.
Wow.
And I said, my community need this. That's just kind of like how it started first. Like my community need this because this is, to me, this was like warping into healing, like an advanced level of healing.
Mhm.
Because in those 3 days of that class, my life is completely transformed.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes here as you're talking because I think this is such an incredible story. I love what you just said. It was an advanced form of healing, and you thought
Mm-hmm.
my people need this. Okay, so what did you do next?
So next, so I started off with two partners, my best friend and my sister-in-law, and we contacted the school and we were like your program is so freaking amazing,
Mm-hmm.
but there's so many different levels that we feel that you need, which is kind of like that diversity and inclusion
Mm.
part piece of it, where it could speak. Because listen, if it speaks to us, then you can really reach more people. In our mind, that's all we really wanted. We wanted, because let us just help you, because we're so good at building curriculum too.
Mm-hmm.
Let us help you reach more people, more of a diverse,
Mm.
platform. And they said, no, we're not interested.
Oh, they said no, thank you.
They
Okay.
said, no, thank you.
Boy, they
So
regret that now.
listen, I was raised by entrepreneurs. So my
Mhm.
mother was an entrepreneur, my grandmother was an entrepreneur, and they said, baby, if they don't give you a seat to the table, just build it. So we built it. We built the institute. So initially it was called the Life Coach Training Institute. And but it wasn't a global piece yet, right? Because I hadn't totally sold my partners on it, because in my mind, I'm thinking we can make a greater impact, if we just, because the world needs this. That's just how I just felt like the whole entire world needed
Mm.
to learn about life coaching, because it was like the highest level of personal development I had ever experienced in my life. And so we went on our journey. Our contracts first started with we did a lot of pitching
Mhm.
because no one knew what life coaching was. It's like,
Right. You had to like educate people as you were selling it. So when you say
yeah,
you did a lot of pitching, what does that mean?
Yeah, so we did a lot of pitching. So what we did, we sat down and we thought about what population do we want to serve, right? So
Mhm.
we knew that we wanted to be in at-risk communities where, they just didn't have a lot of services, and we wanted those services to be very effective and efficient for them. So we just thought about if we could go in and train their leaders, then the leaders of those communities can train, do what they do, because they're
Mhm.
they're the community um leaders. So we started with the Boys and Girls Club.
Mhm.
We did our first pitch with the Boys and Girls Club, and we looked at their most intensive department, which was a game unit at that time,
Mhm.
right? So we already knew that those people were stressed out. We knew that they have passion, and we knew that they love their community though.
Uh-huh.
But we knew if we could provide them with an outlet of learning how to manage their stress, manage their emotions, manage their thoughts and their feelings, that they will be greater. And that's what we sold them on. So the Boys and Girls Club were in. They was like, you can certify our whole department, because they are like, they're burnt out. And so
Yeah.
that's how we first booked our first name. We started certifying the gang unit department of Boys and Girls Club in Greater Fort Worth, and the rest was history. Because when we saw that pitching model worked,
Mhm.
of really identifying and targeting like a high level, leadership role, but that came with so much baggage and stress,
Mhm.
like educators, right? Um, Everyone was just like, please train our staff.
Mm.
The training that they got was a life coach certification training. So that's what it was at the beginning.
Okay, so I want to back up and like really pull that apart. So you were like, we're going to start with the Boys and Girls Club. You really researched it. You looked at
Mhm.
what is their most important, or what is the highest need that they
Critical.
have there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then what did you do? You wrote out a proposal, you called someone. How
Oh
did
yeah,
that?
that was it was a whole movement, right?
Mhm.
So we had to do the research to see who we need to contact, and we had an inside person at the time. I want to say maybe my brother worked in the Boys and Girls Club, but it's always good just to ask around, ask people like,
Mhm.
who do you know? And if you can't figure that out, the website is the best place to go and get information. So at the bottom, back then in 2010, 2011, where technology wasn't so accessible, but all of the big companies, at the bottom of the website, it has about,
Mhm.
it has all the information about the leadership, and we just emailed them.
Mhm.
We found their number. We could never get in contact with them via phone, but we emailed them. We followed up. The first person, wouldn't respond. So we went to the next person. Okay, well, maybe we need to start with the high person. We need to start with the person underneath that person.
Yeah.
The second in command, responded. And then from there, we just built a relationship. So, like, once you finally connect with someone, that means that there's an interest. Because I will say, if people don't reply to you, either they don't see it or there's not an interest. So,
Mhm.
people are really, really good at ignoring you.
Mhm.
But I just told my team, if we get a yes, just a yes, and hey, I receive acknowledgement, not yes, but an acknowledgement first,
Yes.
it is game on, right? Because now I have all these different strategies. We're sending donuts, we're sending flowers,
Yeah.
we're going to get in the door. And that's exactly what we did. We just built this really organic relationship
Mhm.
until it bumped up to the person who we needed to see. And they were
Mhm.
like, you have really come in and infiltrated our community. So, we're ready to meet with you now. And that
Okay.
probably took about
So
3 months.
Okay, 3 months. I love that you mentioned that. So tell me about that first email. You said, "Hey, we have a program that,
Uh-huh.
we see that your community needs." So were you talking about serving individuals who went to the Boys and Girls Club, or did you talk about starting out with, "We want to train your staff"?
Well, we started out with just kind of identifying their statistics,
Mhm.
which was researchable, right? So it was like, hey, we see that you service, this um, high level population that are in, gang communities, high crime communities, and we want to be a part, we want to be a part of your team and helping your staff to truly reach that population so you can see a transformation in your clients, right? So we really just kind of we use both the staff in the community, right? So when a person is reading that and that there were just 4 murders in the community, and the murders that happened had to do with members of your facility, and you're looking for help, and police can only do so much, right? So I think just around that time, because it was so much happening in Greater Fort Worth, that everyone who served in those communities were looking for additional help. So like even now, somebody is looking for you. Like somebody is looking for your email, your phone call, your knock at the door, because there's so much happening in the world right now that one organization cannot combat alone, right? Yeah. So the collaboration, that's all we spoke about. We want to collaborate so we can help with the self-efficacy of your program. So you can have, better, just a stronger membership, where you can have a stronger leadership to serve your membership. And
so you really figured out what are their needs, and then
you really have to figure it out. You really have to figure it out, but it's so in black and white. If you just do your due diligence and research, right? Like the computer, it is right here. You can look up news articles, just to see, like, has that organization been in the news? And if so, what were the things that were being discussed? And so, the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, Girls Inc., they serve a high youth risk, at risk youth. And they're always looking for programming to come in and just to help with the self-efficacy of the program.
Yeah, I think this is so good. And the reason that I'm pulling it apart so much is because I think a lot of the coaches I talk to have this idea of, I have to go out there and get one-on-one clients to start building up my business. And I just always want to present, there's so many different ways to do this. So one of the ways, is to approach these businesses that are already serving your ideal clients and approach them and bring up ways to collaborate. So the other thing that I want to emphasize, I mean, first of all, I think you were really creative in doing that, but then you also, and I know this from our conversations before, you didn't just approach one organization, right? What did you do?
No, like, I mean, even corporations, right? So I have several avatars, that's the other thing, we're so, programmed that we have to have this one perfect avatar, but in coaching, I feel that life coaching is a lifestyle. So it's okay to have several different avatars, right? So I also reached out to psychologists' offices, licensed counselors, hospitals, and corporations that also had who possibly served my community, and then their employees had a high stress rate, or their company had a high turnover rate. So even around that time, I did work with Dell Computers, who they had a high turnover rate, because they serviced a lot of Title I schools, and giving computers and stuff out, right? And so my thing is, like, once you get into flow, it's like it's almost like when you're a baby and you first start eating baby food, and that's the only thing that your body really can digest. Until one day you eating this baby food, this mushy food, and then one day your parent gives you something to chew, and then because your body is already digesting food, it accepts the hard food. Well, for me, that's just like business. It's like once you start with the simple things, the flow, like it'll just shift. Something just shifts. I don't know, it's energetically, it's spiritually, but movement produces success. Movement
Mhm.
produces action. And if you can just get out of your own way of thinking one way, like this, that there's this perfect way, there's no perfect way.
Mhm.
It's just you believing the process and moving through it. So what happened next was there was another business, there was another avatar happened. And one of my biggest avatars that happened from a non recognized industry,
Mhm.
I pitched to a psychologist, a group of psychologists and psychiatrists, and I didn't get the contract with the first group. But like I said, it's just like eating a baby food and then something of greater substance come along. Another company just heard about me because I pitched to like 4 or 5 different, mental health facilities or whatever. And she calls and she says, she introduces herself and she says, I'm looking for a life coach to work on my team. And I said, well, who do you serve? She
Mhm.
said, we serve immigrants here in the
Okay.
US. And I need a life coach because after they see me and we diagnose them
Mhm.
and we give them their meds, I need for them to come to you and you give them the skills and the strategy.
Mm.
And I was like, who are you again? And then she said, how much are you going to charge my people so
Huh?
I can prepare them for it? And I said, well, I go through this spiel. And at that time, so we're talking about now 2012,
Mhm.
and I charged $247 an hour,
Mhm.
$147 an hour. She said, can we negotiate that?
Mhm.
And I said, the lowest I can go is $225 an hour. She said, perfect. And I have been with them. I'm still with them
So
to this
you
day.
still see one-on-one clients from that organization?
I now refer them to my other coaches because I don't
Okay.
have time.
But
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense. So
we still
you,
accept them
yeah.
in, and I have
Oh,
some
that's
proteges that
huge.
I've trained. But
Uh-huh.
what I'm saying is like we're talking about at this time, life coaching. People were really, especially the licensed community, the professionals, they
Mhm.
were really like edgy about us because you're coming in and you're calling
Mhm.
yourself, this, you know, this person who can
Mhm.
help in my field is mental and behavioral health. So the flow of me believing that I am a life coach and I deserve just what everybody else has, right? I deserve it just really just started landing me gigs left and right. And I went from I quit my job 3 times
Mhm.
before I just said, I am literally making enough money where I can leave my job forever. And so that's just what happened.
Oh, this is so good. So I want to pull apart like 3 different things that you talked about. So
Okay.
when you were talking about the baby food and then taking solid food, you're giving me goosebumps because I was thinking about what you're actually doing is you were increasing your tolerance for rejection. So you got rejected over and over and over, and you had to put yourself out there and do scary things. And you increased your tolerance for that rejection and for the scary things. So then you were able to do something just a little bit scarier. So I
Yeah.
would imagine like coming up with a price on the fly like that and then thinking about negotiating it, you probably had no idea what that was going to look like, but you had increased your tolerance for saying scary things. So then you were able to. So that's how I like to think of what you're describing as baby food. So that's why I
Yeah.
tell coaches so often you just have to take action because even if it doesn't work, you're increasing your tolerance for failure and then you're willing to do bigger and scarier things.
I love that. I love how you put that. And when you increase your tolerance for failure, it's like I'm a God girl, right? And so,
Mhm.
one of my favorite scriptures is like, your gifts will make room for you, but you have to take action, or the things that you desire will never come to pass,
Yes.
right? Like that's all in the Bible, right? And
Uh-huh.
so, even with psychology today, which at the time was only for licensed
Uh-huh.
therapists,
Mhm.
doctors. I was trying to get on there. They were like, girl, no.
No.
they were just
Like, you're a
denying
life
me.
coach. No, thank you. Uh-huh.
And I mean, I was denied like 3 or 4 times.
Mhm.
But in my mind, I envisioned myself being on there. And so because I could see it,
Yeah.
I knew that I was going through the process of
Mhm.
learning how to digest this, right? This is just something new that's being put in my mouth. I need to learn how to digest it like everything else. And then one day I just called again. Something said, call again. Got this really, really nice lady. And she was like, I guess they have notes in the system. And she said, she was like, listen, you have to have some type of certification. And I said, what about my special education certification?
Oh, that got you in.
She said, that may work. I
Mm.
said, but when you put me in, I don't want to be a special educator, special education
Mhm.
educator. I want to be a life coach. She said, oh, once we approve you, you can be whatever you want to be in there. And so I get a lot of clients. Even now, I get a lot of clients that just see my bio
Yeah.
and they contact me. Yeah.
Well,
But I,
the
very small percentage of one-on-ones. I don't
okay.
have time for that.
So the other piece that I wanted to pull apart from that was you didn't just focus on action. So I always think that when it comes to life coaches building a business, there has to be a combination of action and belief. There has to be that mind work. So you mentioned you had that belief in yourself. I deserve these things. I'm good enough for these things. Because I think, the programs that where, you're learning to build a life coaching business that are super heavy on belief, you still need the action. But if you're just focusing on strategy and you don't have that belief, you're going to fail at selling yourself. You're going to fail at getting out there and doing the pitches because you don't have that. It's like the foundation of everything. So talk to me about some of the things that you were believing about yourself in order to keep going through all these failures and rejections.
Well, in the life coach in the Global Institute for Coaches and Entrepreneurs, I have, a model that I created. So I live by the model, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the model, we talk about the awareness of our thoughts. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are we really telling ourselves? And once we figure that out, once we know that we're self-sabotaging ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? For me, it was like I had to go to my belief system, because if I'm saying that I believe in a higher power, and I feel that I'm made in the image of something that is so freaking great, but yet I live my life at the very minimum, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, LaKendra, do you really believe?
Mm-hmm.
So in my global heart model, the focus when you get to awareness, well, the first part is vision. It's called the I care global heart
Okay.
model, right?
Okay.
So the I is everything that I feel I am,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I felt that I was deserving. I felt like I should be a global leader. I felt like I should be helping in communities because I was really good at it and passionate about it. So once I identified who I was, then it was the awareness of what's keeping me from it. And a
Mm.
lot of it plays in your thoughts, a lot of it plays in your words. But how do you even get those things together? It has to be connected to your belief system.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say that you're a believer, then you must identify what your principles and what your core values are, right? And so we take our clients through that process, which, I'm self-coaching myself all day long. So I took
Yep.
myself through that process. And at the end of the day, it was something that my doctor told me. My doctor helped me build my model out.
That's
He's a
amazing.
medical doctor,
Yeah.
right? And he said, LaKendra, there's a middle way to life that everyone wants to live this, this way of success, this way of, fulfillment and growth and abundance. But then you have the negative part of life and you have the positive part of life
Mm-hmm.
that keeps us from this middle way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so a lot of it is like, it comes from our heritage of what we've been taught. It comes from, stimuli around the world. It tells us how we should live. So
Mm-hmm.
all those things just create our thoughts, and create patterns.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really believe in what your faith says, like to me, that's the blueprint. So
Mm-hmm.
when I'm sad, what does my faith say about being sad, right? It says, joy will come in the morning. Like this is just an isolated day. So look for joy tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
right? Look for the silver lining. So once you start, I teach faith so heavily in my practice
Mm-hmm.
because we say we believe, but do we really believe,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be, like a religious faith, or you mentioned that you
No.
are a woman of God. It doesn't even have to be God necessarily. It can be the universe, but it's what you're saying is you have this set of principles, of
Mm-hmm.
values, and you go back to those. I sometimes call it a belief stack. So you have your belief stack. This is what I believe about the world and how it works. And this is what I believe about myself and about my community and all of those pieces. And then you can go back to that to find your truth. And one of those things being the
Right.
negative of the world is temporary. Like this is going to hurt, but only a little, only for a
Only
short period of
temporarily.
time. And it's
Yeah.
so interesting because whichever ones of those beliefs that you're really focusing on, I love thinking about how our brains work. It's what, kind of creates the filter through which we're seeing the world. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you're focused on, this pain is temporary, it's going to get better, then you're going to begin seeing proof of that everywhere. Whereas if you're really focused on the negative, you see the proof of the negative everywhere.
That, what, that's so and it leads you to the next, phase of the model,
Mm-hmm.
which is it's constant reflection. Like there's three levels of reflection. So when you're in awareness, when you have a vision, when you know who you are, you have your vision, you're in awareness, then you can reflect on a high level. So there's simple reflection, there's complex reflection, and then there's reflective reflection. That's the highest level of reflection that keeps you moving and not, and out of stagnation. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because if I know that change is inevitable,
Mm-hmm.
if I know that at in any moment of my life, or in the position that I am in, change will happen there, whether it's good or bad. And if I'm aware of this and I know this, even though, it may hurt you, you may be in a lot of pain,
Mm-hmm.
but you know that there's always a greater outcome if you just keep moving,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you establish that commitment to yourself, right, which is the last part of our model, is just establish the commitment and just know that just because you're a good person, just because you're doing great things and you're living for purpose, you're not excused from experiencing life.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to all experience it. And I think that's why life coaches are so freaking amazing,
Mm-hmm.
because most of us have gone through the fire of life and we're still here trying to make a difference in the world.
Mm. Every time you talk about your program and what you teach inside your program, I'm like, oh, I need to come learn from you. It's so good. And just the way that you have your little acronyms that help you remember, oh, these are my options. I can go into reflection. I can go into reflecting on my reflection. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I mean, I can see why, people spend time with you and they get certified by you and they learn your model and they are like, this is going to change my life forever. It's so good. So backing up to where you're, you finally get this system that worked with the Boys and Girls Club. That's so amazing because then you have proof of concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it becomes this flow. Suddenly people are reaching out to you to say,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I need you to help me serve my clientele. And it all came back to who you were passionate about serving, these underserved communities. So then what happened next? How did you grow to that next level?
So we're making all this money, right?
Mhm. This is amazing. I mean, serving people who are not paying you directly. So it's not like you are
Yeah.
relying on your clients to fork over thousands of dollars for these huge packages. This,
Yeah.
you're being paid by insurance companies, you're being paid by organizations, sometimes by clients.
Yeah. Sometimes by
Mhm.
clients, but I am not relying on my
Mhm.
on an individual to get me to the level of success that I've seen in my mind, right?
Mhm.
Because I know who my avatar is, and I know that my avatar cannot afford, like
Mhm.
if I mean I could charge a lot of money, but I know that it would put my avatar in so much more risk.
It wouldn't be
And
the
that
life you wanted either. You wouldn't be serving.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so that was a conscious decision that I really had to coach my ego through,
Mm.
right? Because just because I could do it didn't mean that it needed to be done,
Mm.
right? So
And to be clear, when I talk about these organizations were paying you, so it was like, for example, it was the Boys and Girls Club paying you directly to coach
they're
their
paying for the certification, yeah,
their
for
staff, to
for
certify
their
their
staff.
staff, and then
Hmm.
sometimes paying you to come in and coach the individuals that come into the Boys and Girls Club, right?
To run workshops and programs.
But it was
Yeah,
them paying you, not the people who signed up for the workshops and programs.
correct,
Okay,
correct.
perfect. Okay, so keep going.
So the same thing for, corporations,
Mhm.
they have the money. They have the
Mhm.
money. They have the budget. They even have the budget for you,
Mhm.
right? And they're looking for you, or that money just sits there. So to me, like that's the type of money life coaches should go after.
So let me
Um,
ask you about Dell then. So when you approached Dell, Dell was paying you to coach their staff or to certify their staff?
so when I did Dell, I went in and did I did a facilitation workshop for them for their sales team.
So
So
managing their own stress, not
yeah,
necessarily helping manage the stress of their clientele.
correct. So their sales were down,
Mhm.
right? Their sales were down. They were overworked, they were overwhelmed,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Hey, we heard about you. Can you come in and motivate our staff? Like, can you come and speak to them?" And I said, "Well, I'm not a speaker.
Uh-huh.
I'm a life coach. I'm going to always just say I'm a life coach, right?" And they was like, "Well, what is that?" I said, "I
Mhm.
can come and facilitate their hearts. By the time I'm done, they're going to be so rejuvenated. They're going to be
Mm.
pumped up. They're going to be refreshed. They're going to have tools that they can use once I'm gone, and it'll boost up the sales, like I promised." And so that's what I did. I went in. I did what I call my flower garden presentation,
Mhm.
where everybody got a flower pot. Like that's what a facilitation is for me. It's movement. I call it a motivity. So it's motivating through activity,
Oh, I
right?
love it. Okay.
Yeah, it's a different form of motivational speaking. Everybody is engaged in the process. So
Mhm.
anyway, we I took them through the process, and it was just amazing. So it was like, hey, in our next quarter, can you come back? And I'm like, sure. So that was just another gig that I had rented.
Oh, this is so beautiful. So you had these things. I love how you said you worded it too. So you didn't say to them, okay, well, I have this activity and I'm going to bring in these flower pots and this is what we're going to do. That's not how you sold it. You said, I'm going to do this activity and they're going to be rejuvenated. So you really focused on what is the outcome that they will experience. They're going to be
Yeah.
refreshed. They're going to be better at sales at that point. So I love that. Um,
Yes.
so, okay. So then you're working with all these different companies and then it at that point you decide to open up a certification?
No, so the certification is already open. You got to remember that the certification happened first. So we're already certifying.
So people were still coming to you, not necessarily through these organizations, but also just one-on-one.
Yeah,
Okay.
just getting
Mhm.
certified. And so then, we're probably like in year 4 or 5, and I'm ready for, like, if we could do this locally, like I'm so ready to do this
Mm,
on a global scale, right?
mhm.
I've proven to myself that my community, and when I'm talking about my community, I'm talking about the African American community, is open to this,
Mhm.
right? And now that we've infected them, now they're seeking us out. And it's no longer about us having to go in and educate because we've done our due diligence, right?
Mhm.
So now let's just go bigger, because there's other underserved and other privileged communities in this world that needs life coaching. So I just started. I remember sitting down, I did a vision board, and I was like, what does it look like, me
Uh-huh.
expanding globally? I didn't know how it was going to happen. All of my energy, my morning meditations, my movement was just centered around somehow, like, we need to expand outside of the US.
Mhm.
Well, at the time, like my business partners, they were just like, that's not what we really want to do.
Oh, wow. So you
So
had
I
to go
bought them
outside
out.
with.
I
Mm-hmm.
bought them out, and
Mm-hmm.
then I solely owned the company.
Mm-hmm.
So, but before that happened, I had got this really strange phone call. I just want y'all to listen to this real quick because this is what I'm talking about. Like when you believe in what you desire,
Uh-huh.
and the universe will show up for you,
Yes.
right? And it sounds so woo-woo, but it's just how it happens. So I'm manifesting that we need to go global. I get a lady to call into the institute, and she literally, the name of our institute was the Life Coach Training Institute. The name of her institute was I mean, the Coaching Institute or something like that.
Okay.
So it's like one word off. And so she
Mm-hmm.
says, I am looking for Bob. And I said, this is a all female owned
Mm-hmm.
school. And she was like, no, I'm looking for Bob. I need to talk to him about bringing life coaching to the Philippines.
Oh my goodness.
And when
Okay.
she said that, I knew it was for me. I knew the universe had showed up for me. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, I
Do you
had got
know
really
Bob?
excited. Well, there's no Bob here, but let me see if I can call him for you. So we tried to call on
Mm-hmm.
three-way, got his voicemail. And so I just instructed her. I said, hey, this is really, really cool. You know, I told her about our school. I wished her luck. I said, send him an email. And if he doesn't respond, call me back. So about 90 days later, she called me back. She said, hey, I just wanted to follow up with you. I got in contact with Bob. Bob is not really his name, okay? I got in contact with Bob.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it. He said he wasn't comfortable and he pulled out.
Mm.
And I said,
That was for you.
how about you give our institute a try?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I was hoping that you said that. And I asked her, why do you want life coaching in the Philippines? And she said, because the mental health need is so great that we're so underserved here. And I
And
just,
you were like, bing.
bing, bing, bing.
Yeah.
She attended the first certification virtually.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next, I flew there. We certified our first class and our second class and our third class. Like we have over 300 coaches there. So
Oh, that's amazing. So these are people who are, you did it there, but you also do it virtually. But these are people who are becoming life coaches and then going out and building their life coach businesses in their communities and serving the
yeah,
mental health needs of their communities.
yes, and in their own way. So and because of the amount that we're charging was really really expensive for the
Mhm.
Philippines, right?
Mhm.
So all of the coaches that we certify, they are very high level. They're in the
Mhm.
government, they're in education, they're in entrepreneurship. They're everywhere,
Mhm.
but they are even as a professional. We still struggle with mental health, whether it's
Mhm.
stress management or just being overworked and overwhelmed. So now there's a group of beautiful change agents in the Philippines that are serving the
Mhm.
Philippines, and so it's just amazing.
So it's not necessarily coaches who want to build their own coaching practice, but it's people who want to bring these mental health solutions into their existing role.
Yes, and their existing leadership role.
This is so beautiful. So this is what everyone who's listening right now, this is the big takeaway that I want you to pay attention to is I talk to coaches all day, every day who are concerned about, do I have a group coaching program or do I do one-on-one? Do I start serving this niche or do I start serving this niche? And I want you to hear that as LaKendra built out her business, those were not the questions she was asking. She was looking big picture. She was making her vision board. She was focused on believing that she knew she could do big things in the world. And the universe showed up to support her in that. And I think that's so beautiful.
Thank you. It really has. My life is forever changed. I just got off tour, so now I do this Leading with Love tour. So I went to my first stop was in Manila,
Mhm.
and then I went to Tagloban, then I went to Dubai, and then I went to Nairobi, Kenya, and now I'm back home. And so and I'm traveling as a life coach, right? I'm showing up and I'm showing out as a life coach, but I've built my own methodology. And I think that we should all have one. Like, what is it that you believe in, and what is it that you want the world to know? What do you want the world to receive from you? And what type of, like, we're all healers. So what part of healing in the body do you want to infect? Right. So my part of the body I want to heal is the heart. You have some people who want to focus on the mind. You have some people who want to focus on the gut, which is our second brain. You have some people who want to focus on, mobility. Whatever it is, you have to create something for yourself and believe that it is going to transcend the world. And that's just what I believe. Like, I'm good enough to also have this healing power and to help other people.
This is so amazing. I mean, I feel like if we were to kind of reverse engineer, leaving out the little bitty details, but you developed your own methodology, you deeply, deeply believed in it, that it could change the world. And then you just started trying things and getting it out to people in the world. And you maintained consistently that belief. I mean, there's probably so many little questions people have. Like, even I think about, how did you start traveling? Like, what made that start happening? How did you know who to get a hold of? And I think that it all comes down to, you had this methodology, you had this belief in your methodology that it could help people. And so then you just tried things. Do you want to give
Yeah.
an example of something like off the wall that you've tried that ended up working out?
So this is the biggest tour that I've been on in my whole life coaching, history. So I said, who is it do I serve? Like, in general, like, I really serve leaders, people who identify themselves as leaders. And so my question to myself is, what is it that leaders need? Like, what are we lacking? So we're lacking self-care, we're lacking self-love, we're lacking collaboration, and we're lacking the bridge, like the bridge between borders and zip codes, right? So I created like a whole program that connected the bridge where, for leaders who want to expand their territory, who want to live outside of the box, who want their business to be known everywhere. And it doesn't have to be a really, really, like, I'm not a really, really big, huge company, but my impact is humongous, right? And so that was the first thought. The second thought was, where the hell do I start?
Yeah.
So, because of the connection with the Philippines, I traveled there for the first 3 years alone. Like, my family didn't go with me. It was a mission of my own. It wasn't until this year that I finally took people with me. So, because of that, I'm traveling, and who am I meeting? Other people, like, on the plane and here and there, it's like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I travel the world and I teach leaders how to lead with love. Oh my gosh, like, where are you from? I'm from Pakistan. We would love for you to come here. Well, what company do you work for? So
Amazing.
it
I
just
mean,
builds, it builds, it builds, it
this is
builds.
one of the things that I try to emphasize to my clients all the time. Like, once you have that foundation there, your belief, your methodology, you know who you want to serve, so you have that vision there, there's opportunity everywhere. And I talk about how I've gotten so many clients on airplanes. So I'm like really purposeful about not putting my headphones in right away, because I just want to see what's available. But you turned in a wrong phone number, a wrong number call into a huge business opportunity. Like,
Yes.
because you're so grounded in your belief and you know where you're going, even somebody who called and asked for Bob, you turned into a massive opportunity. So I really genuinely believe that deep down, that everything is an opportunity once you're grounded in your foundation.
Oh my gosh. And my big this is what I ask all of my coaches. Like, when you figure out what you really want, right? The first relevant question you should ask yourself is, will you allow it to be possible?
Mm.
So I went through a lot of freaking healing. right? I've been on my healing journey since I was 19. And there's so much that tells us that we can see it, but it's impossible. Nothing is impossible. All you have to do is answer the question, will you allow it to be possible? And if your answer is yes, it's like the stars start to align, like all of this woo-woo stuff starts to happen. And as long as you're moving, you will produce results.
It's amazing. I am going to write that quote down on a sticky note and look at it all the time. As long as you're moving, you will produce results. So
Yes.
this is everything you've shared is so good. And I feel like there's so many little nuggets that we can pull out of here and apply to our day-to-day life to grow our own coaching businesses. So here's what I have a couple questions for you. The first one is, if you were to start over, this is my favorite question during the interview. If you were to start over right now, you know what you know already, you have $1,000 to spend on your business, what would you do?
What would I do with $1,000 to spend on my business?
Because
With all of
you
the
want to
with
have
all of the knowledge that I have now.
you know, you want to build a big business. How do you
Mhm.
start? Day one, how do you start?
I would take, honestly, I would take that $1,000 and I would invest it into something so much bigger and profound than my business. Because here's the thing, you have to understand that money is energy, and you don't have to hold on to it, but you got to know what to do with it. So that was something that I didn't know at first, right? So at first I was chasing the dollar
Mm-hmm.
instead of investing the dollar. And I know that's a weird answer, but it's an honest answer, because this is where we lose as entrepreneurs. We put all of our eggs in this one basket of
Mm-hmm.
marketing. Like, I need to do ads. I need to do this. I need to do that. And then that money is gone. And if you don't do it efficiently, then that $1,000 doesn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
What I've learned over the time, of being an entrepreneur, is the money that I have, I need to figure out how to make this money make money to produce what it is that I need to have in my business.
Mm-hmm.
So my answer is going to be, I'm going to take that $1,000 and I'm going to invest it into a CD, or I'm going to invest it into some type of business um, passive income opportunity to
Yes.
grow the money, because the money is going to grow within 1, 2, 3 months. And then now my $1,000 is going to be about $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can say, because I know my business is going to work, because now I believe in it, because you said I already have the knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to take 50% of that money and I'm going to put it into marketing now. I'm going to put it into, visibility of my business. And that's just the honest truth, because my brain is really different. If you've been listening for a while, you know that my whole business model is like cuckoo for cocoa puffs. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
it's so free spirited and heart centered. So that's what I really want to say. Stop spending your money. Stop giving your money away in the business. Stop feeding it. Make sure you can produce money. Make sure you can take that money and produce money with that money.
Mm-hmm.
Then support your business,
Mm.
because that's how you create sustainability. And now I'm talking like real business talk. That's how you create sustainability, because for years I just kept feeding the business, but because I hadn't built a brand, or because I hadn't build, the where people knew me, and the following, I would just lose that money and have to start back from scratch. But now I'm so much smarter and wiser. Now I just make my money make babies.
Uh-huh.
And now I have sustainability, where I can say, okay, so I turned $1,000 into $5,000, and now I'm going to take this money and feed the business. That's
Uh-huh.
what I'm going to do with that $1,000, Ashley.
That's amazing. So I'm also curious then, what would you do with your time to start building that, rebuilding the audience? So if you don't have your
That's
business, but you have your knowledge,
yeah.
what would you do? What would you spend your time doing?
Time is that's For me, when you're building a business, you don't start with money, you start with time.
Mm-hmm.
Your money got to go do something else,
Right.
right? Because you gotta convince yourself that your money it's energy and it will grow. Time you have as long as you're here on earth. So I'm going to be going all over my metroplex, all over my city. And I'm going to be showing up as a life coach. And I'm going to be telling people exactly what it is that I do. Because that doesn't cost me anything. That's free. Or it may cost me a drink or two if I go to a happy hour or something like that, but it's still affordable. So for me, time is your number one asset when you start off as a life coach. Because even still today in 2023, people still are very weary and uneasy about the word life coaching. So you have to show up, you have to go to networking events, you have to go and set up as a vendor, you have to go and introduce yourself through whether it's email marketing, like just stuff that is so freaking free because you're using your time to serve your business.
So you are getting out there in any way possible and telling people these are the kinds of results that people get when they work with me.
Ashley, my best friend was Eventbrite, and it's still my best friend. And I can go right now to Eventbrite and pull up personal development workshops, conferences in my area, women's conferences, business conferences, and I'm going to find the person that is over it. I'm going to say, hey, can I come and be a vendor? Can I come and set up? And this is what I can produce for you. As somebody of quality at your event. I still do that now. We have 5 events, even now, and the great stability, financial stability that we're at. I still do the same things. I'm going to set up at events, me and my team, and we're going to sit there as life coaches, and when people come over, we're going to rock the world. Because when a person meets a life coach in person, as a person who really feels that they're a real, authentic, and genuine life coach, you're going to transform a life. And right there, that's either a client, that's a referral, or that's just someone now knows about who you are. So time is your money when you start out. You do not have to spend thousands of dollars. Like, I do not recommend it. I just do not. And if you want to learn how to grow your money, just reach out to me.
I know when you're talking about you grow your $1,000 into 5,000 in a few months, I'm like, well, we need that class, first of all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I'm like, this is amazing. I mean, I think this is such great advice. Just show up all over the place and just have conversations, because like what you're saying, you don't even have to have a plan for what you're going to say. People are transformed just by interacting with you if you are that real, genuine life coach.
If you're real and you're genuine, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on figuring out your image, like all of those things. Like, my image has even grown, over the years. Just authentically be yourself. Because I think that if you're authentically yourself and not trying to be something else, you're going to attract exactly who can afford you and exactly who needs you.
I love this. And I think in a lot of ways, especially when we're getting caught up in like, what should my niche be and who's my ideal client and all of that, you have your values, you know your big vision, and those things all work themselves out. So as you get out there and start serving, you figure out those pieces. So I never recommend that you start with those ahead of time, but you show up, you see what makes you, I mean, you have your big picture in mind because you know what you value, you know what your methodology is, what tools you have accessible to you, and then you just keep showing up. This is so good. So
Yeah.
I think that you've given so much good advice. I just want to ask you before we sign off, if you have any other advice to give either new starting out life coaches or coaches who want to grow their business.
Yeah, first, I just commend anyone who wants to become a life coach, because it's like, where did this profession even come from? Like, it's like it just dropped out of heaven, right? Dropped down from the skies, and then boom, life coaching exists. So my guidance for you is, first of all, find somewhere to get the training. I think anybody who's serious about going into a professional arena needs some type of training, even though in life coaching, you don't have to have training. You can just literally call yourself a coach. And I always tell people that when they call my school. However, if you want to be intentional about it, if you want those stars to start aligning for you, then get you some training somewhere. Secondly, just be open to the process, be open to the transformation, right? And be open into believing that you can either earn another stream of income, it can become a part-time job, it can become a full-time, it become a full-time, just a passion project. I don't even like to call it a job. It's like, this is a passion and purpose project that I'm on, and I never want to get off, right? I just want to keep evolving at it. So if you come into the space with not thinking about money, because movement is going to create money. You just got to believe it. If I keep moving in this path of me being a life coach, I'm going to generate the money that I desire to make, right? And find you a community, like find you a business bestie that's doing the same thing. You know, maybe it's a person that you're going to meet in a class, or find you a mentor, or hire you a freaking coach, right? So
or
you
be
can,
part of a mastermind.
yeah, you know, you can hire your coach, or you know, be a part of a mastermind. And I won't even say be a part of my mastermind first, because you know, any great mastermind is going to cost you some
That's
money.
true.
I'm talking about, these are things that's not going to cost you anything but the investment of your future, which is attending a class. So you have to invest in your future. And I'm very simple. I use very simple language, as y'all can see. It's not some type of master universe, you know, information download that you have to have. It's just, this is my vision. This is what I'm going to believe. I am not going to allow anybody to take me off this path. And I'm going to find my enlightenment as a life coach.
This is so beautiful. That is amazing advice. And I think it's so incredible, because so often we are looking for strategies or techniques or tactics, and it's not that. It comes back down to, what am I believing inside? What is my long-term vision for myself? What do I value? And then move forward, continually take action that aligns with those things.
It's really that simple, Ashley. Yeah.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of the wisdom that you have today. So let us know real quick, how can people get a hold of you? How can they connect with you? How can they be part of your orbit?
Yeah, so you can, my website is simply LaKendra.com, and simply LaKendra.com will connect you to, you know, the Global Life Coach Training and Entrepreneur Institute, which is the certification side of life coaching. It'll connect you to Jice Loves, which is the mental and behavior health side of my life coaching. And it'll also just connect you into my community. You know, I'm on Facebook. I'm simply LaKendra. On Instagram, I'm simply LaKendra. And I am the funniest, simplest, very simple. I'm not getting on there trying to read you quotes every day. I don't have time for that, right? It's just, it's life. I live a real life. And if you know anything about life coaching, you know that life coaching encompasses 7 dimensions. So you should see the social part of you. You should see the business part of you. You should see the humility part of you. So that's what I look like on social media. So don't be disturbed by it, okay?
You are very entertaining on social media, I have to say. I love it. Okay, so go to Simply LaKendra, find Simply LaKendra on any social media platform, and you're going to find all the real behind the scenes life of Master Coach LaKendra. And I think this is so amazing. I cannot wait to just pick out some of the little nuggets from today, because I think there's so much goodness in here. So I also would love to give you the opportunity. You already shared a lot about your upcoming launch, your upcoming promotion. So do you have anything else that you want to add about that, what we should watch for as you're launching that?
Yeah, so September 1, we will start, you know, running a couple of ads. Like if you're an educator,
Mhm.
and at this point, it doesn't matter like where you are in the world, but you're just ready for transformation because, as I said, all it requires you to do is to take action and move, right?
Mhm.
And in your movement, you're going to produce whatever it is that you desire. Just be out. You can, like I said, you can go to simplylakendra.com. You can just kind of find me on social media and just get connected. Even teachers who want more. That's where y'all need to go. Teachers who want more.org, because that is going to be such a isolated it's such an isolated movement. So if you go to
Mhm.
teachers who want more.org, you will be able to connect to my ebook that
Mhm.
will give you $1,000 discount if you just go through it.
Okay.
I want you to go through it because it's so many tools that you need for this school year.
Mhm.
So go and download that book, teachers who want more.org. And if you forget that, Simply LaKendra is easy to remember. You can still connect to the website through my simplylakendra.com. And then if you are, locally, if you feel like flying and traveling, I'm having a conference here. I'm ending the Leading with Love boutique style conference here November and 3rd and the 4th here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I would love for you to join me. But I'm going to have just all different type of dialogues on how we can improve holistically in our personal life and business. So it's going to be an amazing second annual. I'm excited about it.
Ooh, that is exciting. I will obviously be there, so I'm so excited about it. Yes.
Yes.
So, fantastic. So Simply LaKendra and teachers who want more. I mean, this is amazing for educators because they learn how to support the mental health of their students. They learn how to make an additional stream of income, and they do it in a way that is really serving their community. So it's a win-win-win all around. So if you have friends or family who are educators, then send them to teachers who want more.com and they can check that out. So if you also, those of you still listening, if you are listening now and you're at a point where you want to figure out, you have your vision and you have your belief in yourself as a coach, you know you're a phenomenal coach and you're ready to build out your business, you're ready to grow your coaching business, and you want to figure out what model do you follow, whether it's, do you start working with corporations like LaKendra, or do you start doing live events like Tavana, any of those things, then let's talk. You can book a time for a strategy session with me by going to talkwithashley.com, and let's just figure out what you want your business to look like. And also, if you're watching, don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Or if you are listening to this on a podcast, then you can, review and follow the podcast, because that just helps us reach more individuals. So I look forward to meeting you. I look forward to talking with you, and we will see you next week on the next episode of How to Market and Sell Life Coaching. Thank you again for being here, LaKendra.
Thank you, Ashley.